This is Manifest Your Greatness Podcast, episode number 103. Hi, friends. I'm Curtis J. Washington. And look, the purpose of this podcast is simple. We are constantly being bombarded with messages like, we could be happy if only we had a particular thing, or we could be successful if only we made X amount of dollars, or we could be at peace if only so-and-so loved me. These messages are not only disempowering, but also they are simply not true. This is because it's not about where you are and where you want to be. It's about who you are right now and who you wish to become. Once you know what the ideal you looks like, then you will automatically start becoming aware of what steps you can take right now to move in the right direction. And the goal of this podcast is to help you look within and discover all the love, all of the beauty, and all of the unlimited potential that you already possess, and for you to set it free for you and for the world to see. Welcome to the Manifest Your Greatness podcast. Hi, everyone, and welcome to this episode of the Manifest Your Greatness podcast, where we explore practical and actionable steps that you can take to help you manifest the greatness that you already possess deep inside. In today's episode, figure we're coming in, it's February now, and good time to kind of check in and see how everyone's New Year's resolutions are going, how their 2024 is kicked off. And I specifically wanted to talk to you about how the process of making change, of doing new things, has its ebbs and flows. And I want to really specifically get into what things look like when we're going through change, right? We're in motion doing something that we've done for a long time, right? If we have a routine, we've been doing it for a long time. And when we're trying to mix things up, it can be stressful, right? And a lot of times we want to do too much too fast. And that's one of the hardest things when it comes to change, is trying to find a good balance in terms of how much to bite off at a time. Because when you're changing, when you're asking yourself to reassess what you've been doing and to implement different things into your routine, different activities into your routine, it takes energy and it takes focus and it takes consistency. It's like steering a big ship, right? If you're going along and you're going at a good clip and you are trying to make a sudden change, it's very, very difficult because you've got all this momentum carrying you in one direction and you're trying to pivot really quickly and make a major change in your trajectory. That's hard. That's really, really hard to do. But what's easier to do is to make minor corrections and to start with something small. This does a lot of things for you, right? First of all, it gets you veering towards the direction you want to go. So you can feel good about not heading in the direction that you were before, and you know that you're making progress, you're making steps towards that change. The other thing is, it's a lot easier to see results when your aim initially is for a small change, right? When you're aiming for a small change and you are going through that transition, you will notice that small change because it's going to come more quickly. You're going to be able to look at it and say, okay, I see progress. And as you continue around that turn, it's going to become easier to continue making corrections because you're going to be building confidence, you're going to be building momentum, and your trajectory, as you start to change, you're going to start bringing some of that inertia, that energy with you, and it makes it easier to continue making that change. Now, what can be tempting to do is to set your GPS at a direction that's a significant veer off of where you're headed now, and to be a little bit frustrated when you see that you're still heading in the direction that you don't want to go, at least if you look at things from a larger perspective, right? Because you're saying, I want to be here and let's make this change. And you're like, it seems like I'm not making any change here at all. Feels like I'm still going in that direction that I don't want to go in, and I would like to get there faster. Whereas if you were to zoom in and you were being honest with yourself and you were actually working on those things that you said you wanted to make those changes on, you would see those minor corrections, right? And that'd be encouraging, right? It would be encouraging. And that's what I'm talking about. So perhaps you bit off too much for you to chew this January when you said, I'm going to make all these changes. And perhaps you're wondering if you can do it at all. And usually what I find is that a lot of my clients, especially if they're dealing with making major changes in their lives, this first few weeks to the first month, even the first 2 months, can be very, very difficult. It's not about doing the work. It's about having everything aligned, having your mindset aligned, being able to figure out how to change your routine to align with your goals. And then the consistency, right? It's about the things that aren't as important to you falling off, right? And the things that are more important to you that are involved in making this change that you want, it's getting all of that on board and pushing all of those things forward. It's like, you have a cart of groceries and it's filled with food that is not healthy, and you're trying to move forward, throw all those things out, put all the healthy stuff in and keep going, but you don't know exactly where all the healthy stuff is. You don't know how much of what you should be buying. You're trying to do a lot at one time. So whatever your goal is, right, take it one step at a time. I think back about how I initially got into weight training and how I got into fitness and how I just wanted to make this change. And I said, I'm going to lose this weight and I'm going to become more toned and I'm going to be able to ride 100 miles and I'm going to be able to run a half marathon and I'm going to be able to do all these things. And it was a lot to put on myself mentally. That was the thing that I underestimated. My body was taking the brunt of it, right? It was going through the motions. I was consistent with my time. I was getting up and doing what I thought I needed to do, but there was a lot that was falling through the cracks. And the reason why is because I tried to do too much too fast. If I had slowed down and maybe picked one sport for one, and then started looking at what I can do today and tomorrow and next week, the little things that I could change, and was more focused on one thing, it would have been a lot easier for me to make progress more quickly and more consistently in that one area. But I kind of wanted it all. I wanted to do a lot. And what this ended up causing for me was a lot of ebbs and flows. So I started getting serious about physical fitness. 20 years ago, I was about almost 200 pounds. I was completely out of shape. I had just had a procedure to correct my supraventricular tachycardia, my heart issue that I had, which allowed me to do more. So all of this had happened about 20 years ago, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go for it now. I'm gonna do all these things, and so lots of ebbs and flows. I lost some weight, I gained it back. I changed my diet this way, I changed it that way. I got into one sport, I changed it to another sport. I was going after these fad nutrition diets. I was going after these workout routines that were either extreme or that I hadn't done enough research on. A lot of things I was doing, and I wasn't thinking holistically about so many things. So I went after too much, and I was ebbing and flowing for a good 5 to 10 years until I started to realize, okay, there are little things that I need to be focusing on, that I need to understand, and then I need to continue to work towards that progress. So I kept my big goals out there, but I kind of fine-tuned them a little bit. Instead of worrying about the sport exactly, I started thinking about, well, what do I really want when it comes to being fit? And then I was able to narrow it down. Well, I want to be flexible in terms of my ability. I want to be able to go out and ski and have a good time and snowboard and have a good time and not feel like I'm out of breath and not feel like I'm completely out of shape. I want to be able to run a little bit. Don't need to run marathons and half marathons, but would like to feel comfortable to get out and run, 5K, 10K, whatnot on any given day and feel good about that. I'd like to keep myself strong enough where I feel confident that I'm keeping my body strong and healthy and that I can do things that matter to me around the house or whatnot. I want to keep myself flexible. And then I started really thinking about all this. This is all about keeping a level of fitness that makes it easy and enjoyable for me to do all the things that I love to do because I'm very active. So I started to really think about, okay, what are the little things that I need to be working on? Let's take a look at my nutrition and how it affects me mentally, physically, how it's supporting or not supporting the activities that I want to do. What type of workout routines should I be doing that are not beating myself up to the point where I can't enjoy the activities that I want to do when I go do them, but they're doing enough for me in the way that I need them to be able to support me in those activities. So if I want to be healthy enough to go out and paddle my canoe for 5-10 miles, what's my cardio workout like and my weight training workout look like? Is it supporting that, or is it detrimental to that type of activity? So I just started looking at how I was feeling when I was doing the things that I wanted to do, and then I backed into the little things. What is my nutrition like? What is my sleep schedule like? What is my mental state like if I do certain things? How do I feel when I'm in the gym, when I'm doing these activities? And just those little things. And I started making little adjustments, maybe started going to bed a little bit earlier. I started doing upper body workout a little bit less, doing legs a little bit more, doing core a little bit more. And then I would reevaluate and reassess. But not only that, I was able to see the progress that I was making because I had these little goals, right? I was eating a little bit differently and seeing if that was impacting where I wanted to go. I was working out a little bit differently and seeing if that was helping me enjoy the activities that I love to do. And I was making other little changes to see if it was positively impacting my work routine, for example, because it's very important to me, the creative work that I do. I've got to keep my mind open to new possibilities. I don't want to become stagnant. I need to always keep that growth mindset, keep looking for new things to learn. And it's all connected, right? But they're all little steps. They're all little things that I was working on. So that's what I wanted to talk a little bit about today. If you feel like you're trying to do too much at once, and you have really good intentions, right? You want to get healthier. You want to stop eating the way that you are, for example. You want to become more active. You want to get that degree that you've wanted to get for so long. These are all fantastic goals, but they can be very overwhelming if we don't take the time to look at what are the little things that I could be doing that, one, give me that sense of progress, right? Because you need something small to start with to start building that momentum, right? And to start seeing your progress, to give you that feeling of, yes, I see that I'm moving because now I can tell how far I've come, right? So think about the goals that you have and try to break them down into smaller steps that you can appreciate the gain that you have achieved as you start going through that process, as you start moving towards that goal. The other thing too to always keep in mind is that when we create these goals, oftentimes we can get so hooked on the goal itself, whether it's a degree or whether it's being a certain body fat percentage or being able to run a marathon, whatever it may be. We can get fixated on these goals as if they are the end, as if that's where we are trying to get to, and that's it. But it also helps to think of even these goals as milestones, right? Don't think of them as the be all and end all, because you may realize that there are some even more important goals that you're going to hit along the way, and there's some more important goals that are coming after it that you haven't identified yet. So think of them as your compass, right? Think of these goals as things that are in the direction you want to go as a person, and head in that direction. So if you're not fixated just on that goal, you're going to start to notice, as I'm becoming the person who's going to accomplish that goal, I'm learning more. I'm becoming more aware of who I am. I'm acquiring skills and knowledge. And these are all helpful because they're going to help push me continuously in the direction that this goal happens to be on, but I'm ultimately going through that. I don't know what through that looks like. I don't know what's on the other side of it, but I'm making these little changes and I'm working towards this goal, but I'm keeping a mindset open, right? Think of it this way. When we make a goal, when we say this is what I want to do, to us it may feel like that's the world, right? That is success, right? But I challenge you to think of it this way. If you think you know the world then your world is too small. If you think you know the world, then your world is too small. So if you think this goal is going to be it, is going to do it for you, think again, because there's going to be something on the other side of that. And that's going to help keep all of this in perspective as you're making these little incremental changes in the direction of that goal. Keep an open mind. Be aware of what you're truly after. Because like I was saying before about myself, when I was setting these goals, I thought that was who I wanted to be. I thought those goals represented the person that I wanted to be. And what I realized was those goals were what I thought personified success, what I thought personified being fit and being healthy and things like that. And what I was not thinking about, because I just didn't know, is that there was more to it than that. I actually had a deeper goal than that, and I wasn't aware of it until I started kind of flailing a little bit with my attempts to reach these goals that I thought were very related, right? These different sports, these different events, these different health and nutrition goals that I had. I thought they were all related, and they were in a way, but they were not focused. I was all over the place. And as you start making progress, you start to realize you've got these goals that you thought were one and the same or very similar. It's like as you get closer to anything that has many parts to it, the closer you get to it, the more you realize that they're not as close as you thought. And you have to make a decision. Well, now which one do I go after? Because when I was looking at them from a distance, they looked like they were all very close together. But now as I've gotten closer to them, I realize I've got to pivot in order to hit these different targets, right? So start small. Think about who you want to become. Don't let the goal become the end all, right? Don't let the goal become the objective and where you want to be. Think of the goal as a status check in terms of who you want to be, right? So think of that journey towards that goal and be open to what you are experiencing along the way, because that's where a lot of the insight comes. So if you're focusing on these little things, right? Let's just say you have a goal to lose 25 pounds, right? Let's just say that's your goal. So if that's your goal, then there are a lot of things that are involved in that, right? Changing your diet, right? Becoming more active, right? There's a lot of lifestyle changes that you'll need to make. But in the process of making those lifestyle changes, you're going to find out more about yourself. Maybe you thought the goal was to lose 25 pounds, but the goal was simply losing some weight to be able to do a specific activity that you wanted to do more often or better or faster. Or maybe it was something else, right? Maybe it was you wanted to become more comfortable doing something else, and you thought losing that weight was what's going to get you there, and you realize, no, that's actually just a part of it. And guess what? I don't need to lose 25 pounds. What I actually need to lose in order to get to this goal is 15 pounds, right? Then you've got a different goal altogether, right? But it's all in the same direction. And what I'm saying is that the more that you examine the process and the more that you understand the direction you want to go, the goals that you have just become status checks along the way. And they often will change. But what's most important is those small steps that you're taking along the way, because that's how you learn if the goal you're headed towards is really what's best for you. And that's where you really start to grow, because you are reassessing, is this really what I want? Or is this what I thought personified success for myself? Or this is what I thought success looked like? Or this is what I thought happiness or fulfillment looked like? And as you go through that journey and you start making these little changes and you're really focusing on making these small improvements, you're gaining that confidence, you're gaining that insight, you're going to gain more perspective on that as well. So that is my challenge for you today. If you started this year and you are in a slump, or you feel like you're plateaued, or you're thinking about throwing in the towel on whatever that goal was, back up, okay? Don't lose sight of the goal, but think more in terms of who do I want to be? And let me start looking at little things that I can change, little shifts I can make that are going to put me in that direction. Don't get so obsessed with the goal itself. Start thinking about the person you really want to become, that you believe that goal is on your path in order to reach. Thank you so much for joining this episode of the Manifest Your Greatness podcast, and I look forward to spending time with you again on an episode in the near future. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Manifest Your Greatness podcast. If you liked what we've explored on this episode, then you'll love the Manifest Your Greatness coaching program. The Manifest Your Greatness coaching program is uniquely tailored to help support you on your journey to become the absolute best version of yourself. So if you are committed to taking the steps required to significantly and permanently level up in any area of your life, visit manifestyourgreatness.com/contact. Again, that's manifestyourgreatness.com/contact and schedule your free consultation call today. Talk soon.